Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys for jumping on. It's Thursday morning. Some of us are in paradise and some of us are just thawing out from the winter cold, right? So these GoDaddy meetups, the community, we bring together some of the most interesting, visible stories, people that are growing, adapting, evolving, and changing to help small business, right? That's the entire reason we're in this community and we do these meetups is to provide visibility and stories. So each week we have a new guest on. For those who have not been on before, I just want to kind of put that out there. We're going to go ahead and introduce those that are here to support our guest speaker today, which is Alex Young, the co-founder of Clarifai, also a co-founder of mine. And so I appreciate you guys being here. My name is Adam Griggs. I will be your moderator today. And then Rachel, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon. Rachel McCool from GoDaddy, and I manage community experiences for GoDaddy, so online, offline events, and all sorts of other opportunities for us to give our customers, hopefully help you in your journeys, and also have you connect with each other, which is really important as well.
And my name is Jonathan. I work on the GoDaddy brand social media team as an engagement manager, so handling day-to-day engagements and working with Rachel and Adam on these incredible discussions. So I can't wait to hear from you.
Jonathan, thank you for being here today as well. You too, Rachel. Alex, why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction into yourself and where you're at?
Yeah, so hey everyone, my name is Alex Young, and as Adam said, I am the co-founder of Clarifai. Currently, I have been in Hawaii because prior to founding Clarifai software company, I was doing videography, and then one of those gave me an opportunity to come out to just do work here, and I didn't say no because Clarifai is an online business. So I was like, well, if I can do that and be in Hawaii, why not? And then COVID, and then just I've been out here ever since. So it's definitely interesting that I should probably apologize in advance in case there is an awkward silence delay because of not just the time difference, but the internet provides a delay periodically. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think it's interesting that, you and I have worked together for so long, and when somebody tells you they do multiple things, usually you think that it's because they're stressing themselves or stretching themselves to try to make ends meet, right? And our journey has been a little bit different, especially with how Clarifai was born. But I just love the fact that you didn't give up your passion, which is marketing and perspective through video work, and you got marooned in paradise. That's fun. So I feel like that's powerful because the world's transitioning, right? We're more connected, we're more online. Tell us a little bit about your background before you came, and met me, and what kind of led you on the journey, and why you co-founded Clarifai.
Can do. And I'm actually piggybacking off of a statement that you had made about following your passion, not like cutting things out and overworking yourself because of like your stress or you're trying to make ends meet. A big motivation for me is just quality of life, like how you choose to live your life and the way that you approach anything that you do, whether that's business, relationships, fun, hobbies, or whatever. It's to enjoy this one life that we all have. And so I was very intentional when beginning, like choosing to start Clarifai, and that I didn't want it to be a project that was all consuming. Like it took away from relationships and it took away from this, it took away from that area of life. I wanted to be a vehicle, like almost like a lifestyle vehicle where it added to everything that I'm doing. And that's kind of how I approach any project that I take on today. And, I'm happy to say that at least so far, the experiment is working. So everything is adding to everything else. How I got here, so before working with Adam, I had done like a whole like litany of other projects. So very prior, like immediately before, I was actually running a plumbing company in Ohio. So it's like a bit of a step away from my usual. But I had been approached by a guy who wanted to begin to franchise his company out of Michigan. And I had experience like just running different companies in Central Ohio and had like a moderate level of success. And so we began to take that one on. And then as they developed further, the corporate decided that they didn't want to continue expanding. And so that's when I met Adam through doing different BNI meetings with that company. And then he was looking to expand his team, and I was looking to hop into something like a bit of a different role. And I'm always very open and flexible to learning about, what I don't know, like learning as much as I can in this life. And insurance was something that I had experience in prior as a translator. And so getting to work on the agency broker side was something that like appealed to me. And even working, as an insurance agent, I was able to take some of that prior experience and then work with different Chinese companies who had business both here and overseas. And that was kind of like a really fascinating experience, getting to talk to different business owners and do business in multiple languages.
Yeah, you got a crazy background. One of the things that I love about your story, and this is kind of news for a lot of people here that didn't follow you over the years. Alex did an experiment before we ever came up with our concept over at Clarify, where he vlogged himself every single day for 365 days in a row, where he had to put out an intentional video that just let people know that he was there, and he was sharing perspectives, he was sharing his life, he was sharing interactions, which to me was awesome. I mean, it's obviously it took a lot of effort and work, but to be committed in doing that is fantastic. And I think that really drives why and how passionate you are in creating these videos and this content that allows people to have, stronger visibility. So tell us a little bit about what that was like.
That was born out of a podcast that I'd done, which ended up being primarily focused on small business owners, believe it or not. So I had been running a podcast actually, and that podcast was something that I had started primarily because I was reading a lot of business development books. So I thought, like, I'm reading these books about these people who are doing amazing things. And then at some point, the idea crossed that maybe I could also talk to these people. And so just off of that idea, I began reaching out and recording interviews with business owners. And that led me to talking to, prior to that, I hadn't really networked a whole lot with small business owners. And so I didn't really know where it would lead me, but I was surprised to find out how open and willing, at least the community in Ohio, and then later I found out, in the world, as I spoke to business leaders in, London and different parts of the UK. So I was just doing this podcast. It was going out like about once a week, talking to people all the way across like the business spectrum, all the way from like companies like Olive today, and just people who are running their own small practices, like a individual practitioner or agency. One of the guests that I'd had on there said that I should begin doing video. And the reasoning that he gave was that, oh, yeah, video is the future. Everyone's doing video. And I had never touched a camera, but just being the experimenter that I am, I decided that, yeah, I'll try this video thing. But rather than just trying it with like 1 or 2 videos, I decided to do a 365-day blog. And I think that was just a combination of watching Gary Vee and people like John Lee Dumas, and that put out content so frequently that I thought, this won't be that hard. I'll do it just like they do it. And then it was not easy. It was actually very hard. So huge props to anyone who still does that. But it was a really big challenge for myself just to see how much productivity I could have, and what level of performance I could have while also maintaining my sanity. And just learn that humans are very resilient and very, very capable.
Yeah. I mean, I love your story because the background that you bring is not just your skill set, right? It's your availability. And that's one of the most charismatic things you find in business, is just being open and listening to people and being intentional. And it's amazing when you talk to business owners, as we've seen over the course of the last year, basically doing these meetups, people want to share their journey. They want to share their story. They want to share what they're struggling with, what they're challenged with, and how they're overcoming it. And honestly, that your capabilities in doing that 365-day vlog rubbed off on me, and it allowed me to reach out to people, and people are receptive. And I feel like that is a very strong way that we innovate and create now. I mean, I'd love to hear kind of comments from Rachel and Jonathan, because you guys work with small business a lot in the GoDaddy community. I mean, what do you guys see as far as business owners being available and receptive to innovation?
So first of all, Alex, Wow, 365 days. That's a commitment. That's a lot of time. It would be really, yeah, I'd love to hear, and I know we probably don't have time today to hear more about the challenges and kind of more about what came out of that, because that is a huge commitment. I think that it's super interesting, and we've talked about this in our some of our other meetups, Adam, is that I think it all depends on what people are open to. So some people are very open to opportunity and change, and others aren't. And I always say that there's really doors in front of everybody. It's just whether or not you're willing to open the door and walk through it. So I would say it's been there's amazing stories, and you guys know a lot of small business owners as well. And Adam, you've brought a lot to these meetups of people who have pivoted their businesses completely in the last year and have learned a lot and done well. Some people have added on to their business and found a whole new avenue of sales that they hadn't even thought about before. And then there are people that just haven't been able to make it. And so I think for our company in general, we just really want to try to help people as much as possible to be successful. And I still believe that there's so many small business owners out there that are really, they have the expertise in their product and service, but they don't have the expertise in running a business. And that is that's a very different thing. So, however we can, like what you and Alex are doing and the story behind that people can try different things. It's just, it has a lot to do with attitude. And then I also think it has a lot to do with who you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with a lot of negative people that are going to tell you like, oh, don't do that, don't try that, that's too hard. Or you should just stay in your own, space, then, you're not maybe going to be inspired to push past that.
I totally agree with a lot of what Rachel said there. And I kind of subscribe. And I've said this a few times on these chats because he's come up, but my first job out of college is I worked for Gary. I worked at VaynerMedia at his agency for a couple of years, and it was an awesome experience. And as soon as you said you vlogged for 365 days in a row, I was like, oh, he listens to the Gary Vee podcast, or he followed him on Instagram. He did something, because there is a very specific kind of person, an entrepreneur, who has that in them to want to share this much of their life, and not just because they themselves understand that there's value in that. Like, I think there's a lot of times when people, like for instance, you sit there and you just go, you're vlogging every single day. Like, what do you do on days where you just don't want to vlog? What do you do on days when you're tired? And then the important part of that is that you have these entrepreneurs, these people who are hustling and, making their dreams come true and jumping off those bridges and doing these scary things that only entrepreneurs do. And they're being transparent about, like, I'm tired today, or I'm still going to do it, but I had to overcome even just this morning. Like, that kind of transparency, I think, for me at least, it helps to sort of, I very much subscribe a little bit to that innovate or die sort of mindset, where I really do think that if you're not at least thinking about adapting, like, you can have a business and you can say, I want to sell this one thing and I love that, and this is what I want to sell. Like, that's where you can mount your flag. But if you're a business and, something like COVID hits, for example, and you say, but I'm brick and mortar and I only want to be brick and mortar, it's like, okay, like, then unfortunately, this is the scenario that you are in. And it's unfortunate that this is the scenario, but I'm thinking about, restaurants or things. Oh, we lost them. Hawaii, man.
hard beat.
I know how, maybe a beautiful breeze came by. Maybe some tropical fruit down to Powerline. But yeah, I guess I'll just complete that thought. But I think COVID's been so difficult, but this is really, I've been so inspired by how some of these businesses have innovated. And I think innovation is also a frightening word in some ways, because people will think that means you have to change everything. Or if I'm going to innovate, that means I have to learn technology I don't know, or I have to do X, Y, Z. And in some instances, absolutely. But innovation boils down to my favorite bar down the street from us has they're an old garage. It's an old firehouse. And what they did is they just opened the door during COVID and they started selling ice cream through it. Like they have a little soft serve machine that they always use root beer floats for, but it was the middle of the summer. They had a way to do this safely, and they added something to their menu and they innovated. And a products company is certainly different, but it's those tiny little things where you just sit there and you go, I still want to serve people. My job is still to sell my product. My job is still to serve people. How can I do that within the confines that I was given? It has to be different than what it is. And that alone is innovation. And I think a lot of times people don't look at it that way, when in reality, they should just give themselves some more credit. Like if you're thinking on your feet, you're innovating every day. And that's sort of the main thing.
I completely agree with that train of thought, especially on both of, what you and Rachel both said. I feel like it can be overwhelming. And we have heard stories of those that have survived, those that have pivoted. And we heard from Anthony last week. He was like, no, I'm not going to change. I'm going to stick my guns. And,
exactly. I was thinking of him too. Yes.
And these stories are empowering and amazing because they're not the same, but there is one very similar, piece of the puzzle that all of them have. They have a community. They've got people that they're leveraging and they're learning from and they're growing with that give them the confidence to make those decisions. Am I going to shift? Am I going to change? Do I need to stay the same? Do I stay the course? Do I close my doors? These are conversations people have to have. And that's actually one of the reasons why Alex and I originally came up with the concept of Clarify, because we wanted people to not feel like they had to know it all, but not miss opportunities to connect with people that could empower them and give them their experience and their knowledge. Nobody wants to go study legalese. Nobody wants to stay up reading insurance journals, things like that.
Just speak for yourself, Adam.
yeah, I do nerd out on that, but you're right, because nobody wants to be the person that has to go and do all of that. They have their passion. They want to do what they got into business to do. And like Rachel said, it's not necessarily the mundane tasks that they want to do in business, right? So they have to find that happy medium where they can actually utilize their community and build forward. And Alex, we lost you a little bit there. So hopefully the beach looks nice.
Yeah, my internet just died. So fun things to deal with here. But if what I'm hearing correct, I don't know if anyone has mentioned this yet, but there's a quote that John Lee Dumas in his podcast, he always says, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And that's not just him, but like it's a very common quote in business. And I think that that theme echoes a lot, no matter what you're doing, including, with the founding of Clarify. Like you're surrounding yourself with people who all want to help you to succeed, because you as a business owner tend to have like a vision and a goal. And maybe you don't always see the best opportunities for when you need to pivot or when you need to do this. So it's like, hey, this thing you're doing is really good. You should do more of that. So, whether you're just like a single team, or if you have a whole company of people around you, I think having that strong support group is really, really beneficial no matter what happens, whether you're in a really amazing year or if you're in a COVID year or, what have you.
Yeah, that's so powerful to think about, because even myself, I don't think I would have continued on the journey of trying to build out these videos weekly with small business owners if I didn't have the support of people like Rachel and Jonathan who get on here, and other community members. It's hard to make sure that you're making yourself available if you feel like you're talking in an echo chamber. So, I mean, there's the trust factor that you've got people that are surrounding you if you fall to help you get back up. But there's also that confidence level, because you're seeing them struggle, challenge, and rise to the occasion too. And it's just like having a partner at the gym. They're going to spot you, you're going to spot them, right? You're going to all get stronger together as long as you're there motivating each other. So I love that. I appreciate that, Alex.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's so important as part of conversation is, sometimes people are afraid to talk about the things that don't work for them or the challenges they have. I think that, I've tried to surround myself with people around me that are willing to be honest and say, like, I'm struggling right now, or this thing didn't work out, even though I had a lot of hopes. And then what did they learn from that? Because if you share that, then other people can jump in and say, actually, that same thing happened to me. Here's what I tried. This worked for me. But if you just hold it all in, first of all, it's really bad for your mental and physical self, but also it's just, it just feels so confining, and it doesn't feel freeing. And when you actually have those open conversations with people, you learn a lot more, and then the relationship that you have with that person or that group of people grows because they see that, oh, that person's real. They're not trying to pull something or just bullshit their way through life.
That makes me think more of the vlogging. That makes me think more of the utility and the real value of vlogging and entrepreneurs putting themselves out there on their journeys, and as they kind of go through the motions. Like Rachel, it's that same thing. Like it's all community building. Like it's that idea of, I'm starting this business myself in my apartment, and I don't have people around me right now to motivate me or inspire me, or maybe I have family and friends and people, but like direct people I'm working with. And to be able to share that online, and to know that you have an entire community of entrepreneurs and people online who are there to give advice and to help, and to help guide you through these initial sort of hurdles that come with launching a business or establishing your brand. It's really cool to just think about how far. It's so scary to do this thing, but it's incredible to think of how far we've gotten towards just building these communities of our own volition, of just saying, like, I need to share this with someone. I'm going through a journey, and I need to document this somehow. I need to share it. And I think the more people who do that, the more vulnerable people are willing to be, the easier it is to not only know how to provide assistance or to help them, but that's when you can take a step back and really look for solutions, I think.
Yeah, Alex, I appreciate you jumping on today. Jonathan, those are fantastic comments as far as what community really means and putting yourself out there. And Alex is somebody who embodies that. He's been on his journey working with small business owners, but it hasn't stopped his capability to evolve and adapt. And he shares his life with people so freely. And I love that. When he first moved to Hawaii, people reached out to me and said, wait, are you guys closing your company? Did it already fail? And it was amazing how quickly people thought, like, we're giving up. No, it walks with what he's already doing. If he can do it from somewhere else and impact and empower people, that's fine. And that's fine for entrepreneurs around the world. If what you are doing walks with you and it's not adversely affecting your journey, try it. You never know what's going to happen. You might find a life filled with experience, because that's all we've got.
Alex, I think it's fantastic. And by the way, what island are you on?
I am on Kauai.
Oh, you are. Very cool. That was the first Hawaiian island I went to. But yeah, I think the other thing that is so cool about a discovery from this past year and going into this year is that we can do business now from wherever we want to do business. Not everybody, right? But a lot more people have discovered, like, wow, if I'm going to work from home, like, maybe I should work in Hawaii or, other places. That is super cool, because that gives people the opportunity to be in places that maybe they've always wanted to be in, even if it's only temporarily, and not cement them to being in one location. So that's a cool thing that's come out of 2020.
Yeah, the world is small but connected. Alex,
yes.
I know you've got kind of a time constraint today, so I want to be considerate of your time. Is there one thing that you want to put out there just as a message to the community that small business owners might be looking to hear right now?
I don't know if anyone's looking to hear it, but you have one life. Don't be afraid to live it. Whether that means starting your business, pursuing your business, pivoting, building those relationships, reaching out to that person who you thought you'd never be able to talk to. Just, you have this one life, this one opportunity. And I think 2020 has really given everyone an opportunity to sit back and really think about what it is that they want in their life. Like, maybe they want to work in Hawaii, or maybe they want to go move to a different city, or maybe they want to buy a house. But whatever that thing is for you, just, you have one opportunity in one life to live all the experiences you'll ever have. So go live it.
No, it's beautiful. And make sure you take your community with you. We're all waiting to watch. Well, Alex, Jonathan, Rachel, I appreciate you guys for jumping on today. Alex, thank you so much for at least showing us, a small piece of your life and your visibility in the world of Alex. If you guys want to, you can find him on LinkedIn. You can follow him there. He has a fantastic Instagram that's exciting to follow too. I appreciate you guys for jumping on today. Thank you so much.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Thanks, Alex. Good to meet
Yes.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.